How's it going, everybody? And the best is, the best that was, the best ever will be. There'll be none before me, and there'll be none after me. Therefore, I am the one and only Jake Covey, and welcome to Wrestling Made Simple. We got an action-packed week this week with your news of the week, followed by your SmackDown and Raw reviews, and then we go into a review of Bad Blood. So let's get into the news this week, ladies. We then have your drink of the week, followed by your battle droid of the week. But let's get into the news this week, ladies and gentlemen. As is a injured superstar ready to return. Apparently, Jimmy Uso is ready to come back. He is ready to be back wrestling. Awesome to hear that. I really hope that we get a return to the ring very soon for him. And PW Insider has released its Wrestlers of the Year. Its top 500 list. Cody Rhodes made the top with Swerve Strickland, Will Ospreay right behind him at 2 and 3, Seth Rollins at number 4, and we have Naito and Damian Priest at 5 and 6 respectively, MJF, Jon Moxley at 7 and 8, Conta at 9, and Mystico at 10. Shout out to Mystico for making that list. I definitely did not see that one coming, ladies and gentlemen. Shout out to Cody Rhodes for number 1. Awesome to see him back on top. It's clear that winning the WWE Championship has taken him to new heights that he never even saw coming. And finally, you have a feud going on between two crazy people right now. You have Kevin Nash and Logan Paul. Apparently, Kevin Nash is saying that Logan Paul isn't one of the boys, so Kevin Nash is basically cursing out Logan Paul. Logan Paul responded with, "Who the fuck are you and why are you cursing me out?" You know who Kevin Nash is, dude. He is a WWE champion. He is a Hall of Famer. I get what's going on here. It's probably just a little Twitter feud to get some numbers for everybody. Funny, very funny, but it is just idiotic to say the least. And an extra story this week, as it has nothing to do with wrestling. I can't even think of a time he actually showed up in wrestling. I just wanted to give a shout out to James Earl Jones, who passed away at 93 yesterday. I'll always say, I know people put up the argument for Mark Hamill, Kevin Conroy. No, the greatest of all time, the greatest voice actor ever, James Earl Jones, passed away yesterday at 93. So because of that, James Earl Jones, you get the 10 bell salute. Congratulations. May he rest in peace. Ah. But however, let's move on to SmackDown, as SmackDown kicked off with Cody Rhodes talking about how his victory at Bash at Berlin has prompted a KO chant. Cody Cody welcomed Michael Cole back to SmackDown with a welcome back chant following. The Bloodline came out, and you had Cody Rhodes basically get serenaded with "We Want Roman" chants. Solo challenged Cody to defend his title against him, claiming SummerSlam he should have been champion if not for Roman Reigns. Cody agreed to a title match next week, and he was then called out Jacob Fatu. It looks like the tribal chief would accept for this, and you would have DIY and the Street Profits come out, let them fight. Aldis confirmed that next week it will be Solo Sikoa versus Cody Rhodes in a steel cage. We then get Bayley versus Miss Money in the Bank, Tiffany Stratton. Nice little match. I'm actually very happy to see this. I really think that Bayley is willing to really help Tiffany look strong. Apparently, according to WWE insiders, they are saying that she will be the new face of the women's division going forward. So shout out to Tiffany Stratton, even though Bayley did pick up the win. We then get Giovanni Vinci making his return to WWE TV, only to lose in about 4 seconds. Apparently, this was not met well backstage, and people are pissed creatively. So I don't know how to take it, but you would have Apollo Crews pick up the win, and I imagine something different's gonna happen next week on SmackDown. We then get Kevin Owens versus Austin Theory and Grayson Waller in a triple threat match. Kevin Owens would pick up the win. There are some tensions between Waller and Theory as Owens pinned Theory. After the match, Theory and Waller laid Owens out. We then get Chelsea Green versus Micha and Mia Yim. Chelsea Green would pick up the win after Piper Niven attacked Meacham behind the ref's back. And then finally, your main event, God, an 8-man tag, the Bloodline. Solo Sikoa, Jacob Fatu, and the tag team champions Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa versus DIY and the Street Profits. I hate 8-man tags. Fatu laid out 4, then tagged in Sikoa to finish things. Sikoa hit forward with 2 Samoan spikes to pick up the win. Again, I really do hate, I want to say that, hate 8-man tags. 6-man as well. It's not the chaos that it should be, it's just bad, in my opinion. However, when there's a stipulation to it, like a street fight, yeah, it's still probably terrible. The Wyatt Six would pick up the win over American Made. It would be everyone except for Uncle Howdy versus American Made. The Wyatt Six would pick up the win. You would actually have Nikki Cross suplex one of the Creed brothers. Thought that was unfucking believable. It was then announced that Liv Morgan will defend her Women's World Championship against Rhea Ripley at the Bad Blood pay per view October 5th. Nice. Balor would then claim that he turned on Damian Priest because Damian Priest made him his sidekick and he ain't no sidekick. Where have I heard that before? Oh, yeah, way better promo from Dakota Kai to Raquel Rodriguez when they were in NXT. They are definitely taking the Dakota Kai Raquel Rodriguez feud and putting it in here. It was then announced that starting October 7th, Raw will be 2 hours long until the end of 2024. Hmm, I actually don't mind that. So we have another match announced of Damian Priest versus Finn Balor at Bad Blood. I can honestly see that one. That's going to be good. We then get Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair defending their titles against Alba Fire and Isla Dawn. Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill would retain the titles in a hard fought match. You kind of had the feeling that there was no way that the champs were losing the titles here. I just had a very good feeling that there was no way Alba Fire and Isla Dawn were taking the titles from them. We then get Bret Hart making his return, saying he's a proud Canadian and that Canadian champions are the best. World Heavyweight Champion Gunther would come out and call Bret his childhood hero. Goldberg said that this is a torch passing moment because Bret was the best that there was, but the general will now be the best there ever will be. Apparently, he hasn't met a certain podcaster called Wrestling Made Simple. Gunther then said Bret is actually his second favorite, right below Goldberg. Sami Zayn then came out and called Bret a Canadian hero. Sami then challenged for Gunther for a world championship match again. Gunther basically denied, leaves the ring. Bret says that isn't a champion, that's a coward. Sammy got in Gunther's face. Gunther tried to attack Sammy, but Sammy overwhelmed him until security separated them. Clearly, this is going to be the World Heavyweight Championship match at Bad Blood. I'm actually looking forward to it. We then get Dominic Mysterio versus Dragon Lee, an actually really cool match. I enjoyed this one. Dominic would pick up the win over Dragon Lee. I think that Dominic Mysterio is a really great heel, and Dragon Lee is a really cool. This is really a kind of Rey Mysterio, Eddie Guerrero kind of thing to me. You have the Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee, and the Eddie Guerrero and Dominic Mysterio. After this, we get Zelina Vega and Lyra Valkyria announcing their mystery tag team partner, which would be Natalya, Calgary's own, versus Pure Fusion Collective. The baby faces would come out on top, and I really didn't understand this. It feels like they're just booking the women's faction division, kind of what I'm going to call it, because there's so many factions going on Raw right now. As they go, they're just like, all right, let's take this week they're going to get the win. I really don't understand that. It's just weird for me. We then get Rey Mysterio versus World Champion Tag Team Champion Finn Balor. Rey Mysterio would win via DQ. Balor would assault Mysterio after the match, after Judgment Day would get involved. We then get your number one contenders match of Jey Uso picking up the win over Pete Dunne, Isla Dragunov, and Braun Strowman. Bronson Reed would come out after the match and took out Strowman with a huge splash through the table. Intercontinental Champion Braun Breaker would come out and raise the title in front of Jey. So look for the World Heavyweight Championship match to be added to Bad Blood and the Intercontinental Championship match. I imagine that will figure out the 5 matches. But that was Raw this week. I thought it was way better than SmackDown. SmackDown it was the last SmackDown on Raw, as they're now moving back to USA. So look for it to be better. I feel like SmackDown went out on a whimper, while you had Raw go off with a bang on SmackDown. And now, everybody, it is time for my Bad Blood review. Now, I only have 2 more Bad Bloods that I can actually review in WWE. Funny enough, both Raw events. One from Houston, one from Columbus. So let's go to 2003. 2003's Bad Blood event, coming from Houston, Texas, with a attendance of 10,000 and a buy rate of 385,000 people. First Bad Blood to be held since 2000, since In Your House. You would have in the house show Ivory versus Molly Holly in a 3-minute match, or a Sunday Night Heat match. I'm sorry, Sunday Night Heat. Ivory would pick up the win in a 3-minute match. Okay. We then get a tag team match of Christopher Nowinski and Rodney Mack versus the Dudley Boys. Bubba Ray Dudley and Devon Dudley in a tag team match. I still don't understand the booking of the Dudley Boys to lose this match, especially to Nowinski and to Rodney Mack. Okay. Definitely was not the right call there. The Dudley Boys should have gone over. You would then have Scott Steiner versus Test in a singles match. Whoever wins would get the managerial services of Stacy Keibler, something they have been feuding over. So you would have Scott Steiner pick up the win and would get the managerial services of Stacy Keibler. This is really kind of coming off of it should have been Scott Steiner at WrestleMania, but it wasn't at WrestleMania 19. Unfortunately, he would be replaced basically by Booker T. They realized that even Scott Steiner has said this wasn't great work in his company. He said that he really didn't like what he was doing in WWE at the time. He said he didn't feel right. He was going through some nagging injuries. It's actually nice to hear that it wasn't just a bad booking. He truly, if you watch the Steiner Brothers documentary, that WWE revealed on WWE Legends, you actually see Scott Steiner saying, "Yeah, that was honestly me. I felt bad for being in the ring with Triple H. Don't blame them for this. Blame me." I thought that was a cool little thing. But Scott Steiner would get the managerial services of Hess, of Stacy Keibler. Again, funny enough, where he was going from a World Heavyweight Championship feud to fighting over a manager. You would then get Booker T versus Christian for the IC title. Booker T in said main event picture once again at WrestleMania 19, losing the world title on the longest pedigree ever. If you're ever wondering why that took so long, seriously, go watch it. It literally, Triple H pedigreed Booker T, and he literally laid there for 19 seconds before the pin was made. It literally took all of the momentum off of Booker T that he could have going into that. Booker T would defeat Christian via DQ to continue the kind of terrible booking that Booker T was going through at the time. It's just funny to think that a couple years later, I believe in about 2004 or 2005, you would have Booker T as the World Heavyweight Champion. You then get Lawless Stunts, Rene Dupree and Sylvain Grenelle versus Rob Van Dam and Kane for the World Tag Team Championships. Lawless Stunts would pick up the win. Funny enough, and going against Kane. For those of you who don't know, it is Rene Dupree, I believe, whose family was, I believe it was Rene Dupree who my friend told me this. I might be wrong, but Hulk Hogan was apparently very good friends with the Dupree family because Rene Dupree was like, Hulk Hogan was a friend of Rene Dupree's father who was a wrestler. I may be 100% wrong on this, and I could be thinking of someone else, but it's just always funny. I like to bring that up. Rene Dupree would make claims that The Undertaker was one of the biggest bullies in the locker room and is honestly one of the only people I've ever heard to talk bad about The Undertaker. So it's funny that he got a win over The Undertaker's kayfabe brother here, Kane. The Stones would pick up the win and would become your new World Tag Team Champions. You then get Goldberg versus Chris Jericho in a 10-minute match. I have a lot of backstage facts about these kind of things. The reason I think it's funny is because you would have Goldberg basically when Chris Jericho was in WCW, he would get told to put on to wrestle a midget Goldberg at this pay per view. I forget what pay per view it was. It might have been uncensored, and he would wrestle a midget Goldberg and pretend to beat him. And because of that, Chris Jericho would then go out and make challenges to Goldberg every day, every show, and you would have it would never be Goldberg, and Goldberg would get pissed at Chris Jericho and say, "We'll never work together as long as we're in this business, we'll never work together." He then, so it's funny to see them having a match in WWE where Goldberg did beat Chris Jericho, but Chris Jericho definitely looked like the better wrestler since it was a 10-minute match, and we all know that Bill Goldberg is not one to be really pushed to a long match. After this, we get Ric Flair versus Shawn Michaels. Ric Flair picking up the win in a 14-minute match. Funny to think of this. A great match. These two had the in-ring chemistry. We saw that at WrestleMania 24. But it's funny to see this because you would have Ric Flair a couple years later at WrestleMania 24 having his last WWE match, at least, against Shawn Michaels, where Shawn Michaels would pick up the win. And then we get Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Eric Bischoff in a 2-on-1 redneck triathlon. It would start off with a burping. It would basically be like the wheel of doom, kind of. Of you would choose your. It would choose the match type. First was a burping contest, and where Stone Cold Steve Austin would win, Eric Bischoff would then eat a pie eating contest by forfeit. The last match was supposed to be a singing contest, but Eric Bischoff would cheat and would be trying to sing his theme song, but it was a bullshit thing where Eric Bischoff just used tape of his theme song. And then you would have Stone Cold come out and say, "Oh no, listen, I can't sing worth a damn, son. So here's what we're gonna do. We are gonna respin it, and there it is. It's a a pig pen fun match, which I don't know what exactly that was, but Stone Cold did win and would pick up a 2-1 victory over Eric Bischoff to stay the assistant general manager of Raw. And then finally, you get your main event of the evening: Triple H versus one of his favorite opponents, Kevin Nash, in Hell in a Cell for the World Heavyweight Championship with Mick Foley as special guest referee. This was during the reign of terror Triple H as World Heavyweight Champion from basically the end of WrestleMania, or basically the end of SummerSlam to the end of Triple H at WrestleMania 21. So for that time, basically Triple H would be World Heavyweight Champion. He would lose it a couple times. He would lose it to Chris Benoit at WrestleMania 20, one of the main reasons I will never cover WrestleMania 20 on this channel. He would lose it to Goldberg for a few minutes and then would win it back in a triple threat match where it was Goldberg, Kane, and Triple H. He would then win it back after losing it at WrestleMania 20 to the man who beat Triple H at WrestleMania 20 and SummerSlam, Randy Orton. And then Triple H would win it back. But this was during that time. Triple H wouldn't really lose it until WrestleMania 21, where Batista would beat him. I'll talk about that later on. Triple H would pick up the win here in a 21-minute match. Actually, a very fun Hell in a Cell match, and one of the underrated matches I truly think of Kevin Nash's career. It's a fun pay-per-view. It truly is. If you're looking for one to go back and watch, go right ahead. It is a fun pay-per-view. I have to give it a B- for a couple of the stupid matches that were on this card, like the Stone Cold Steve Austin and the Eric Bischoff match, but there was still some stupid things. It was still a fun show. Still a fun show. And now, everybody, it is time for a drink of the week, because damn, I could use a drink. Let's see what the drink of the week has in store for us as we stick with a blood theme. How about blood orange margarita? 1.5 ounce tequila, 3/4 of an ounce of triple sec, half an ounce of lime juice, 1.5 ounce of blood orange juice, ice, and an orange. You're going to combine all your liquids into a shaker. Shake well over ice. Rim the edge of your glass using lime juice and coarse salt. Fill your rim glass with the mix and strain with ice and strain the mix over. And garnish with a blood orange slice and a lime slice. Please drink responsibly. Do not drink and drive. Do not drink if you're on 21 in the United States, and do not overconsume on alcohol. And also do not drink and drive. And now, everybody, it's time for the Battle Droid of the Week. The Battle Droid of the Week this week was originally going to be Logan Paul and Kevin Nash, but I decided to go against it. I watched All Out. I thought it was good. I watched All In. I thought it was good. But people are really slamming the violence that's going on in AEW. Listen, Paul Heyman said it best when he heard that it was, I believe, Jim Cornette saying, "Oh, Extreme Championship Wrestling ruined my vision of wrestling. It ruined me being a fan of wrestling." I thought that was so stupid. So now you have people saying, "Oh, cancel AEW because they went violent." They're not claiming to be a PG product, ladies and gentlemen. They're not claiming to be this ultimate WWE family product. Now, I will be the first to always say, "Oh yeah, I think AEW messed up here." I'm not the biggest AEW fan. I am sometimes an E drone, as they call it, which I will get to AEW fans in a moment being catalyst for this. because there are AEW fans who go way too far. Oh, fuck WWE because they've been here for too long. Fuck them and fuck everything about them. Blah blah blah. Fuck that. Listen, like what you like, don't be a dick. This is being a dick. What people are doing, cancel AEW because of this. No, it's wrestling. Wrestling is your own interpretation of it. If you don't like AEW, let me ask you this. Does anyone here, and again, quoting Paul Heyman once said, does anyone here like polka? You don't like polka? Don't listen to polka. If you don't like AEW, don't watch fucking AEW. Move on from it. Say, okay, this isn't my product. I am not going to watch this. I would love to see these people watch game changing wrestling. I would love to see them watch GCW or MLW. I would love to see their reaction to this, to Bloodsport. Love to see it. I would love to show them ECW's most extreme blood moments. But let's have them watch the Mass Transit incident and see what they think. This is why the IWC is once again the Battle Droid of the Week.
Uh-oh.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening. Next week, we will cover the last Bad Blood event. And then the week after, I don't know, we'll probably just do our predictions for Bad Blood. But have a great week in wrestling. Thank you very much for listening. Enjoy wrestling this week.